Hello everyone, and welcome to The Forge. Today, another battle report between Gene Stealer cults and Nurgle Demons, with some non-Nurgle mixed in. So let's get into the armies. So first up is Nurgle Demons. Now, I am not actually playing this. This is the first time I'm going to be playing against Nurgle. This is normally my army. This is my own personal army. I have most of these models. However, there are a few changes. There are 3 Great Unclean ones. And one of them, it has the Endless Gift, so 4 up, feel no pain. One is Rodigus. They have 2 units of Nurglings, 2 units of Plague Bearers, 2 units of Blight Drones, the Changeling, a Seeker Chariot, and Be'lakor himself, which provides a lot of AoE bonuses and counts as Shadow in the Warp around him within 6 inches at all times. And that is my opponent's 2,000 point army. And Gene Stealer. So this is actually, this is a very random-ish army, and that is because this is my army, my personal army. So, it's not built. I have like 13 models done, but essentially, this is what I have in models, and the cheapest it'll cost to bring it to 2,000 points. So I have Patriarch as my Warlord. I have Acolyte Iconoward, a Nexos, a Biophagus, 10 Aberrants, and 5 Aberrants, and then 20-man Neophytes, and then 10-man Neophytes, which of course they're Icons, the Webbers, and the, what are those things, Seismic Cannons. A unit of 10 Gene Stealers, as well as a unit of 10 Acolytes with 4 guys with the explosives, demolition charges, and all hand flamers and icon. I have 1 Goliath truck and 2 Goliath rock grinders, one with seismic cannon and one with Clarence incinerator. And that is my army. Alright, unfortunately this is the best picture I could get because of some weird buggy issues. But the mission is search and destroy, secret intel, which if we have tactical, we get to have 1 more tactical, we can draw 1 more and then swap it out with the previous 2. And then the mission is priority target, which basically is we get 5 points per objective to a maximum of 10. At the end of the game, we gain 5 points per objective we control. And that is the mission. And of course, like I said before, we took both tactical objectives since it worked with secret intel. And let's get into the deployment. Alright, so for deployment, so my plan as Gene Stealer cults, my opponent won the roll-off and decided to go first, so that was a bit odd. So essentially what happened is, so because of the Primus, I can redeploy up to 3 units and have 1 unit go into reserves, or, well, I can have any unit go into reserves. So essentially what I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure all my guys were on the field and none in reserves to try to trick my opponent to not try to screen for Deep Strikers. And so I placed my, Aberrants out, no, or Gene Stealers out first to try to get like what he would place to counter them there. Then he placed his Nurglings out, which blocked 1 objective. Then I put my Aberrants out in the dead center because I wanted him to try to put strong melee forces out. I wanted to try to bait him, essentially. Then I put my, Primus in the squad of 10 Acolytes. Yeah, I know it's weird to put the Primus in there, but I'm really going big on that one shot, do tons of damage kind of thing. And so, essentially, the Primus and a squad of 10 Acolytes will go into reserves, but currently I place them on the map to try to bait more of his stuff, to misdirect him. So I'll have 3 shots to try to see where he's really putting his stuff, and then I can counter that. Apart from that, my purple unit of infantry took the center. The map's a little hard to place things around because it's just weird, some weird hitboxes with the terrain, and so some models fall here and there, but it's fine. And apart from that, my rock grinders took positions on the top and bottom. Clarence incinerator took the top. My other units of aberrants took the top, and then my unit of 10 neophytes was in the yellow rock Goliath truck, and so they'll be in the back there. And yeah, and then my opponent, solid wall of giant monsters. And so when I redeployed, I put my Gene Stealer cults on the right side. The idea was to hit the Nurglings and go from Nurgling to Nurgling and to just clear up his annoying units. After that, then my Aberrants took the top because I wanted to get them immediately into a Great Unclean One from the beginning. Now, my Aberrants have the Biophagus, which has the Warlord trait that allows them to infiltrate, and my Nexos also has my Acolyte. Yeah, my Acolyte Icona Ward has Predator, Howling Predator thing, and my Nexos has the one where I add make one of their CPs cost more. One of their stratagems costs 1 CP more. Never used it. I kept forgetting. And that is the deployment. Alright, so I won the roll-off, so I got to go first. So, Genestealer Colts turn 1. Essentially what's going to happen is my Aberrants on the left are going to go straight for that Great Unclean One that's right there. Then my Genestealer Colts, my Genestealers are going to rush down towards this Nurglings to clean them up, to just like go from a line. And my opponent, at the beginning of his turn, made it so that, Be'lakor gave a stealth to all the guys within 6 inches. It's a stealth that only counts for 18 inches. So I sort of pushed one of my Rock Grinders that had the range to go near it, and that was a bad idea down the future. So my Teal Rock Grinder moved down to shoot at one of his Great Unclean Ones. That was stupid. I should not have done that. Also, I'm finding that the clearance laser is not that good in overall. After that, then my yellow neophytes got out of the Goliath truck and held the back objective, moved out to screen because he does have the changeling, which can deep strike. Then I have the Goliath truck, whose job is essentially to screen for my markers when units die, to protect them so that they can respawn and get back in the fight. My purple squad ran into the center objective, took it. Webbers are in front, heavy weapons are right behind them, and then my characters are safe behind. My Aberrants on top moved to support, and then my red truck ran onto the objective. That was a mistake. I should have kept him further back, but I wanted to take the objectives. I didn't think he could be damaged, but man, things went south very quickly. And that was the movement phase. Alright, so for the shooting phase, I had my Teal Goliath Rock Grinder shoot at the Great Unclean One and missed. And that was the shooting phase. And for the charge phase, the Genestealers made it to the Nurglings, and the Aberrants made it all into the Great Unclean One that is there. Alright, for the fight phase, my opponent just picks up the Nurglings, and my Genestealers go onto the objective. And then my Aberrants swing, and they do so because they have the Biophages, they have lethal hits, which is very useful. And so they do a total of 14 damage to that Great Unclean One. A little low because they keep missing a lot for some reason. Goodness. And that was a pretty good run. Alright, for objectives, I should have mentioned this earlier, but I had to extend battle lines and no prisoners. I killed the Nurglings, got that, and extend battle lines, I took the center and the top. I got a bunch of objectives, so I'm pretty good on an early lead. Alright, for my opponent's turn, he had Rodigus move up towards the top objective. He had his Great Unclean Ones move towards the center, his Plague Bears moved up. I overwatched with my big squad, and they killed 2 guys. Okay, his Plague Bears in the back moved towards to deal with the Aberrants. They did pretty well. After that, then Be'lakor and all the bugs he had, or the Plague Drones, moved around. And his little Nurglings on the bottom right moved towards the screen. Alright, for the shooting phase, Be'lakor shot at my Goliath Rock Grinder truck that's up at the top and did 6 damage to it. Then Rodigus fired at it and did 3 more damage of it, doing 7 wounds to it in total. Then the Great Unclean One on the bottom shot at my Goliath Rock Grinder on the right, did nothing. His other Great Unclean One fired at my Aberrants and did nothing. Overall, pretty devastating, actually. Technical difficulty, I couldn't get footage of the charge, but here's basically what happened. Rodigus got into my Rock Grinder up top, his Plague Bears and his general, Great Unclean One, charged into my guys in the center, and then his Nurglings charged my truck on the bottom right. And his Plague Bears and Plague Drones charge my Aberrants that are beating on that Great Unclean one. And he tried to get Be'lakor in, but he just couldn't fit him in. So that was a mistake on his part. And then for fighting, well, sad to say, but my Goliath Rock Grinder facing Rotigus got deleted. It only had 3 wounds left and was going to take 4 damage each from each attack. Then the Plague Bears killed 4 of my purple Neophytes, and then the Great Unclean one killed only 2 because 5 up armor, 5 up feel no pain. After that, the Nurglings did absolutely nothing, and the truck killed only 1 though. That was horrible. I rolled terrible. My Neophyte swung back and killed like 1 Plague Bear. Then his whatchamacallit, his Plague Bears fighting my Aberrant swung, and so essentially what happened was he killed pretty much nothing. My Plague Drones and my whatchamacallit, I can't recall it. Plague Drones and his Plague Bears didn't damage my guys, but I did manage to just straight up kill his Great Unclean one. Oh wait, I think they might have killed 1 or 2 and missed the footage, but overall, a bunch of back and forth, heavy losses on my side, and the Rock Grinder getting tied up in combat on the bottom right is a big deal. For points, my opponent got pretty much the same thing, got some no prisoners and take an objective, which he did. Surprisingly, we got the exact same objectives, and so our score is perfectly tied. Alright, on my turn, I generate some CP from the guys on the points. My objectives for the turn are storm hostile objective and bring it down. So take back an objective, easy, and bring it down, kill a big guy. That's possible. So my Aberrants on top move to engage Rotigus. My unit in the center falls back but keeps enough guys on the point to not have it taken away from me. My Gene Stealers run, but they only get to go 11 inches. It's a terrible run, and I genuinely couldn't decide where to put them. So kind of stuck there. And apart from that, yeah, that's pretty much it for my movement. But since it's my second turn, I forgot to bring them in, or no, I did bring them in. But essentially, my my Primus and his squad came deep strike on his back home objective. Since he didn't prepare for screeners, I spent 1 CP so they could deep strike within 3 inches. And yeah, and that was my turn. Alright, so for the shooting phase, I forgot to mention this, but when my green squad of Acolytes deep strike behind enemy lines, they immediately got overwatched by a Great Unclean one, and 6 of them died immediately. My opponent was rolling hot. After that, my Goliath Rock Grinder fighting the Nurglings tried to shoot and kill something, did 1 wound. Absolutely terrible. After that, my yellow truck, the Goliath truck, fired at the Plague Bearers, did a little bit of damage, killed like 1. And then my green squad shot at Be'lakor with what was left. So they had 4 guys with demolitions. I spent 1 CP to give them +1 AP and +1 ballistic skill. So here's what happened. Basically, since they have ballistic skill 4 now, and the Primus is with them, I put him in there because I have him in my collection. I want to find a place for him, and this is the only place I could find that wouldn't step on everyone else's toes and still be useful. And to sort of force my opponent to definitely make sure to kill that unit so they would kill him. So they could respawn. That's why he's there. So essentially, they roll 4 dice for their shots, and they roll 3 1s and a 6. So they get like 22 shots, and they also have sustained, and they re-roll to hit, and they get pretty much the same amount of hits, and they re-roll and they roll to wound, and they get a bunch of wounds off. And then my opponent rolls, he has a 4-up invuln save, and he fails 10, and Be'lakor dies right there. And that was unexpected. That was an unexpected swing in my favor. Did not see that coming. Once that happened, then pretty much no other shooting really happened. That was it for the shooting phase. Alright, charge phase. Pink Aberrants charged, Rodigus, and then my Gene Stealer's trying to do something, charge the Secret Chariot, needed a 10. I did not roll a 10, and that was the charge phase. Alright, so for the fight phase, the the Aberrants swung on Rodigus and did 9 damage to him. With 5 of them and no lethal hits or anything else special about them, they weren't able to do that much damage. And then my Rock Grinder at the bottom swung on the... the Nurgling swung on him and did 2 damage. Then he swung back and deleted them. And he moved on to the objective. And, yeah. And then his Rodigus swung and killed 3 of my Aberrants. And that was the fight phase. And for the points, bring it down. I almost got it. Well, sort of. Oh wait, I did get it. I got Bring It Down because I killed Bellicor and Storm Hostile Objectives. I took it on the bottom left with the green unit, deep striking behind enemy lines. Alright, so for my opponent's second turn, I forgot to mention this before, but my Aberrants in orange ones killed all the Plague Drones he had that were fighting him. So after that, essentially what happened is my opponent got the objectives, can't recall what it was, but destroy the enemy units that are on an objective, and take an enemy objective, or something like that, something like the Defense Stronghold or something like that, I can't recall, sorry. And then essentially what happened is he started moving up. He moved his Great and Clean one, towards the Goliath Rock Truck. He had the other Great and Clean one move behind it close so he could give support fire. Plague Drones also moved in close so they could give in support fire. And apart from that, he had the Plague... the Plague Bears moved back towards his home objective, and his Chariot moved towards his home objective to kill my unit that was there. And that was the movement phase. Alright, for my opponent's shooting phase, he had both his Great Unclean ones towards the center, mag dump my Gene Stealer squad, and wiped out all of them but 4. Then he had his Chariot shoot at... the Chariot apparently can shoot at my green squad on his home objective, killed a few. And then his Plague Drones also shot at my Gene Stealers, giving them the ability to have reroll to wound against them. I think he did that first, yeah. And Rodigus on the top shot at the Aberrants that were fighting him, but they survived a bit longer. And every time he keeps moving his little Plague Bear squad in the center, I keep overwatching him and just dropping about 2 at a time. Yeah. Alright, charge phase. So his Great Unclean one on the bottom right charges my Rock Grinder. His Chariot charges my green squad that's on the home objective, his home objective, and then his Plague Bears join in as well. His General his one with the Endless Gift charges my center, and the 2 Plague Bears he has left there also charge the center. And that is it. Alright, in the fight phase, I also forgot to mention this, apparently he brought in the Changeling, I just barely noticed it on the objective, and he also charged the Rock Grinder. So, his Great Unclean one swung and destroyed the Rock Grinder. It did not explode. After that, the Chariot swung on my dudes and killed 1, and then the rest of the Plague Bears swung against the green squad and deleted them. The Great Unclean one in the center killed 3 of my dudes, and then the Aberrant on the top left is brought up to 18 wounds. He has 4 left. He's barely alive. And then he kills the Aberrant squad and moves on to the home objective. And then his Plague Bears, his Plague Bears do absolutely nothing. Then I swing back and do absolutely nothing to his Plague Bears as well. So absolutely terrible on melee with the Neophytes. And that is the fight phase. Alright, my opponent scored max points against me on his objectives. I can't remember what they were. Well, yeah, overwhelming force and taking 1 objective from me, I think it was. And he scored 5 points for his home, or for holding his home. Alright, I have Tempting Target and Assassination for my next ones. And for the beginning of my turn, I score 10 victory points for holding at least 2 objectives. You can only score a maximum of 10. Now I'll also point out that my pink Aberrants and my green squad of Acolytes, their markers are on the top left and middle left. For forgot to point those out. And then for a movement phase, well, I was able to generate like no CP this turn, rolled poorly. My Aberrant's orange moved towards Rotigus to get me that assassination. And as well as that, my Patriarch in the one Gene Stealer moved to deal with his Changeling. And apart from that, my squad in the middle fell back, but still maintained enough bodies on there to hold the objective. And yeah, that was the movement phase. And then for my shooting phase, my Goliath truck fired at the Plague Bears. Missed. And that was the shooting phase. Alright, so for the fight phase, charges a technical difficulty. Aberrants charged into Rotigus, and my Patriarch charged against the Changeling. Now, the Changeling, I have to take a leadership check, and at -1 because he controls Shadow of Chaos, so I had to roll an 8. I failed to roll that, and so my Gene Stealer and Patriarch could not swing on the Changeling to get me assassination or clear out the point. Then up top, my opponent somehow saved all the saves for Rotigus, and he lived. Well, he was brought down to 1 wound left, but he lived, and he turned around and killed 3 of my Aberrants. So that was terrible. And for points, I discard a tempting target because he chose the one with the that I couldn't get, the one where my Patriarch was on. I could not take that, so get a CP from that. And assassination, I thought I would get that, but Rotigus just rolled well for once, and that was bad. I got 0 victory points for that turn. Then my opponent drew for his turn Secure No Man's Land and Assassination, so take a point, or he already has that, hold a point, take a point, hold a point, and kill a unit, and my Patriarch is right there, ripe for the killing. Alright, so basically what my opponent does is he moves the Chariot up to intercept my orange Aberrants that are beating up Rotigus. Rotigus heals up to 2 wounds, so he has 2 left. And one Great and Clean one moves towards the center, one moves towards my home objective, and the Plague Drone surround my Patriarch, and the Changeling is just sitting there. And that is my opponent's movement phase. Alright, for my opponent's shooting phase, his 2 Great Unclean Ones and Plague Drones mag dump my Patriarch and delete it. Oh, except the Great Unclean one that was closest to the center didn't get to shoot at him because he died before then, and then in turn fired at my purple squad, which lost 3 dudes. Then Rotigus mag dumped my Aberrants that he was fighting and successfully failed to do anything, so that's something. Fight phase, because technical difficulty, forgot to get the charge. So essentially, his Chariot charged my orange Aberrants, his Great Unclean One charged my center squad, and that's pretty much it. I also point out that forgot to mention this, his Plague Bears in the center are gone because every time they breathed, I overwatched them and eventually deleted the squad through that method. Because Webbers, really good over mortal wounds when I need them, sometimes. And so he came in, and with the Chariot, he swung and killed one of my Aberrants. And then his Great Unclean One killed almost the entire squad of Neophytes. There's just like 5 left, or 4 left, or something like that. And that was the fight phase. Oh, and I killed Rotigus. For points, my opponent scored the full Secure No Man's Land and Assassination, and I killed Rotigus, so I get Assassination as well, but he was not a Warlord, so I only gained 4 points for it because it's a tactical assassination. Alright, so for my 4th turn, I got Area Denial and Secure No Man's Land. I was able to generate a CP this time, and so in the center, my pink squad, or purple squad, was so low on guys, they had to take a Battle Shock test at -1. I was not allowing that to happen because if I failed that, I'll lose another 5 points, so I spent a CP to make them auto-pass for the game. And I forgot to also point this out, before he destroyed one of my markers that would have a guy come in, so my Acolyte Warden used his once per game ability to move it to within 12 inches of him, and so now I forgot to put at the end of his movement phase, but my green squad of Acolytes came on the top left and my Aberrants came towards the top middle. And so my purple squad fell back from the Great Unclean One to spare me around melee. My aberrants moved in to deal with him, and so did my truck. And my green squad moved towards the objective to hold it and hopefully take it. Shooting phase. So my yellow truck mag dumped the Great Unclean One, did nothing. My green squad didn't shoot anything because I thought that the aberrant would be enough to finish it. I was very wrong. I should have had them fall back and then have that thing mag dumped by my entire squad there. That was a mistake on my part there. Alright, for the charge phase. My truck charged and I spent 1 CP to give it tank shock, and it did 1 mortal wound to my opponent. Not worth it. And then my aberrants charged in, made it in, and I don't know why I did not charge my green squad of acolytes. That would have made the difference. I really misplayed that. Alright, so for the fight phase. My truck swung, did nothing. Actually, my aberrants also swung, and they did 1 wound, because this is the guy with the 4-up Feel No Pain. So he's been rolling really good 4s on saves, and then Feel No Pain, so I'm just tickling him to death. Then after that, my aberrants up top took some damage from the chariot, but still survived, swung back, and did nothing. So it's just horrible up there, and my biophages couldn't do anything either. So I was able to get Secure No Man's Land, but I did not get Area Denial. Yeah, the Secure No Man's Land was the top left from the chariot. I had OC3, and the aberrant and biophages was 2 combined, and so when my squad moved on to it, I took it from him, so I got the Area Denial. And in my opponent's turn, he had Cleanse and Defend Stronghold. And for his movement phase, he moved his Plague Bears off his home objective because they got sticky objectives to move up north. And he had his other, Great Unclean One moved towards the center. He had his Plague Drones also move towards the center. Or I forgot to mention it, but his Great Unclean One swung on my Goliath truck. Barely did anything, because he rolled poorly. And that was his movement phase. Alright, so basically, his Great Unclean Ones all shot at my Neophytes to kill as many of them as possible to weaken them for the objective. And then after that, also interestingly, at the end of his movement phase, apparently, the Great Unclean One can reduce toughness by 1, but apparently it stacks. And we looked at the rules commentary, and apparently they do. So he was able to, with those 2 guys, take 2 toughness from me. So he took 2 toughness from my Goliath truck, so it would be toughness 7. And then his chariot had a pistol, shot at my aberrants, did nothing. Alright, for the charge phase, he charges his Plague Bearers into my green squad up top, fails. So, because he didn't get any charges off, I swing first. My pink aberrants in the center swing on his a Great Unclean One with the Endless Gift, and they do like 1 wound to him. Yeah, and so he has his chariot swing on my aberrant, orange aberrant squad, what's left of them. Kills off the last aberrant, and then so all that's left is my dude there. My truck swings, does absolutely nothing. He then swings on my truck, does not have the same problem, and he deletes it. Because he rolls, 3 wounds go through, and he does 14 damage to it. So that was that. And then my Biophagus swings and does absolutely nothing against that chariot. And that was the fight phase. For points, that's why the Plague Drones didn't do anything. They were cleansing, so the Plague Drones cleansed the center, and then the Changeling cleansed the bottom right, and so he gained a bunch of points from that. He gained basically max points, and has Defense Stronghold on the way, so he's overtaking me in points. Yeah, it's a bit much. Alright, for my last turn, I got Overwhelming Force and Defend Stronghold. So I'll get Defend Stronghold, but we'll see about Overwhelming Force. So I regen as many guys as I possibly can in the center. I've got like 4 back, got all the heavy weapons and stuff, or the Webbers and then heavy weapons. I fall back my Biophages to hold the objective, and the green squad moves forward. The plan is to try to charge to blow up the chariot and charge the Plague Bearers to stall them. And apart from that, that is it for the movement phase. I do generate some points, and I have 3 CP to spend in total for the next 2 turns. Alright, for the shooting phase, my purple squad fires the Webbers and the seismic cannons into the, whatchamacallit, the plague drones, and brings one of them down to 1 wound left. That's pathetic. Then the green squad fires their one-shot weapons and 1 flamer into the chariot, and it lives with like 4 wounds left. It's ridiculous. They had a 4-up invuln save, and he kept making them. Charges. My green squad charges the chariot to try to kill it and then block off the enemies coming. And then my swing. So my green squad swung on the chariot and brought it down to 1 wound. I whiffed so hard. I can't believe it survived. These guys have 3 attacks each, strength 4, AP -1. It was pathetic. Then his great unclean one in the center swung on my aberrants, killed 1. And then my aberrant swung back, did another 1 wound. It's ridiculous. Then his chariot swung back and killed 2 of my guys. And that was it. Alright, with Overwhelming Force and Defend Stronghold, I really whiffed. I got Defend Stronghold, probably. But Overwhelming Force, I just failed to kill. That was sad. So my final game score is 76, and it'll be 79 with Defend Stronghold at the end of my opponent's turn. And on my opponent's last turn, he got a bunch of things. Control enemy outpost, engage on all fronts, investigate signals, because he spent a CP to re-roll things and get things. And in the end, he had engage on all fronts and capture enemy outpost, what was left. And he couldn't do anything about that. So he would have been out of the game, but then, finally at the very end, because the mission is, at the end of the game, you get 5 victory points per objective you control up to 15. And so his whole turn was to take as many objectives from me as possible. So what he did was he moved his plague bearers up to the top objective to try to take it. He surrounded me with plague drones. I overwatched him and I killed 1 plague drone, making it viable for him to be able to move around like that. And then the other Grand and Clean one moved on to the point, and so he had 10 OC on it. And so with my opponent's last shooting phase, he mag dumped my purple squad with his great unclean ones, just wiping out huge chunks of them because he keeps rolling ridiculously high for the amount of shots at like D6 plus 3. Then his chariot shot at my guys that was in melee, killed like 1. And so for his final charge phase, plague drones and great unclean ones all charge into the center, get all the bodies in, and with that he has taken the center for objectives because he'll have 14 OC, and I do not have that. And then his plague bearers get a ridiculously long charge and get the green guys, and they wrap around. And that's pretty much the game. And the fight phase was just to prove that he did for sure get it. So his plague bearers swung and wiped out my green squad entirely. And yeah, that was pretty much the game. It didn't matter if how the melee in the middle went. I wouldn't be able to kill him off, and he had OC there. So in the end, he had all 3 middle objectives, and so he will gain an extra 15 victory points because of that. And after all that, the final score is 95 to 84, a ridiculously close swinging game that came down to just a few moments, a few key moments. Because of the way the points work in the end, if I had 1 more objective, I'd be at 89. And he would be at 89. Shoot, if I it would have been a tie if I had 1 more objective. Shoot, a lot of things would have happened differently if just a few dice rolls. The game would have went differently. Alright, game overview. This is my first loss in like over a month. World Eaters undefeated. But Genestealer cults, my other army that I'm slowly building up. Well, it was a ragtag list. So here are the key moments that were the issue. So key moment number 1, when my Patriarch and Genestealers charged his Changeling. If they would not have failed that leadership test, they would have been able to swing on the Changeling and kill it. And that would have he would not have been able to continue to hold the objective without having a Great Unclean One sit on it, and that would have not been able to, he would not have been able to then take the middle, and that would have put us not just at a tie, but like that the Changeling held that objective for several turns, and that gave him like 15 points there, like overall the game, and then in the end, so 20 points total. And so if I didn't fail that leadership check, he would have lost. And then the second thing that was a big swing, that was ridiculous. I remembered why my green squad on the top left didn't charge in, is because in order to get onto that objective, they had to run. And so I wanted to take and secure the OC because at the time the chariot was 3 OC and I only had 2 on it. So that was a way of taking the objective, and I couldn't shoot. So that was why I did that. So that wasn't a mistake, that was just dealing with it. But I thought that the Aberrant would be able to at least get 2 wounds in or something. It was easy. You just needed 3s and 3s. Couldn't do that. Apart from that, actually that was the big swingy dice mistake. But the things that went in my favor, the green squad deleting Bellicor. Sure, I had to spend 2 CP and put a Primus in them to get that many shots to hit successfully to kill him. But man, that was a big swing. That was a big deal. But I did make a lot of mistakes. So this is really the first time I'm really getting into the army, and several mistakes I did make. The Gene Stealers were wasted. So with the character, that's 135 points, 235 points wasted that they weren't able to get anywhere near the kills to make up for it. They killed 35 points and then died. Or 40 points now. And then after that happened, my trucks, none of my rock grinders were able to do anything effectively. They never got a charge off, so their true effectiveness was wasted. And so I didn't expect my opponent to basically fly into the enemy, those Nurglings. So if I would have had Clearance Incinerator on both of them, when those Nurglings moved up, I could have overwatched and deleted them. I didn't have that. So the top one, I didn't know Bellicor could shoot that strongly and do that ridiculous amount of damage. Yeah, that was a bit iffy. That was a tough one. So hard to call it, but if basically I wasn't able to use my Goliath Rock Grinders, they were wasted, and so were my Patriarch and Gene Stealers. They ultimately did not reclaim their points. But my Primus and the 10-man squad of Acolytes in the back that went in, took his home objective for a turn, killed Bellicor, his Warlord, did a lot of damage to him. That was really good. That was a good swing. So they're my MVP, that unit, with the Primus. Apart from that, overall mistakes, I mean, I probably went far too forward. It would have been, if I would have went second, I would have won. Let's put it that way. Because I would have gotten my units to be more effective and get more out of them sooner. But, well, that's how it goes. And, yeah. Apart from that, MVP is clearly the Acolyte squad that killed Bellicor. LVP... LVP is the Patriarch and the Gene Stealers. They killed 40 points of models and died. So that's it. Yeah, apart from that, not the best. I've played Gene Stealer Cults before, but now that I'm getting the army, these are my models and stuff, and it cost me like $180 to finish my army, but I first want to build and paint the rest. There's 13 models done. Very well done, I will say. But yeah, so it's going to take some time. I'm getting there, and yeah, as far as this game goes, it was a good game. It was a close nail biter. There was tons of swings in either direction. But man, 4 Great Unclean Ones is really quite the stat check. And of course, the one Great Unclean One that my other Aberrant swung on to was the one with the 4-up Feel No Pain. And that Changeling. If it wasn't for that leadership leadership test was a big deal. That would have swung the game right there. Well. Alrighty then, well, like the video if you like the video, share if you want to share it, and more to come. Bye.